From a little cover, I got my dreams in sight. Wrestling on the mat, I go and put up a fight. With every hold and slam, I rise to the peak. Now as Professor Bear, it's my strength that they see. Roaring with knowledge like a lion so proud. In this wrestling world, I'm standing out loud. I'm Professor Bear, got the passion to spare. Wrestling's my life, with the power to share. From the roof to ropes, in the spotlight we gleam. Chasing victory dreams, living out the theme. Now my WOSN, my squad.
Yeah. Hey, new beginnings on the cusp. Not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul.
With my boys crew, we'll always ride. In the wrestling world, one just claim the prize.
Welcome, and thank you for joining me today. I am Professor Bear, and this is a Bear's Thought. Guys, girls, this has been just an amazing month to have so many great people on talking about their promotions. Again, as a lot of times we think the world is such a humongous place, it is amazing to find out how small the world really is and how much we have in common with so many different countries. Wrestling is worldwide, and I've been blessed to have so many great promotions on to talk about their little slice of the pie that we call wrestling. And today, we are going to talk to a promotion that I've followed since I've gotten into podcasts. They put on tremendous shows and they do a lot of amazing things. Plus, they became an affiliate of the NWA. Now, it has been an amazing journey for them. And again, we are very lucky and blessed. Even though Professor Bear messed up the time, that's what I do because I'm old and I get I get off a little bit. But anyway, I would like to introduce Fred. Fred is the owner of NWA New Mexico Duke City Championship Wrestling. Fred, how are you doing today, my friend?
Yeah, hi and hello and welcome, Professor Bear. This is this is a fun one. I don't often step away from my day job, through the course of a week to promo work, my pro wrestling life. But how fun it is to bring my hustle into business hours. So here we stand and here we sit, and how fortunate I am to be with you. Thank you for everything you're doing over at WSN. I know internet-wise it gets a ton of traction. I know that the individuals that support you, they support not just the highest levels of professional wrestling, but indie wrestling as well. So I'm a big fan of the audience that you hit. So thank you.
Oh, no problem. It is an amazing thing again. And I have a lot of people that I follow, of course, because I'm a big wrestling guy. But ever since I got into podcasting, I followed Duke City Championship. Y'all have a great promotion there. But before we start to dive in real quickly, guys, girls, I want you to make sure you see their logo. I don't want you to get them confused with anyone else because unfortunately, in the business of wrestling, a lot of times we have similar names or even the exact same name. So I want you to make sure you know when you look, you are on the right path. And if you're anything like Professor, anything to make it easier is super great. So I put up this QR code that will take you directly to their uh, YouTube page so you can start checking out their action and get immersed in Duke's Championship Wrestling.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. There's an interesting history to the logo, right? Obviously, the NWA logo is, the million years of existence that it has had, and it's often incorporated into the territory system, which is so very cool. But we don't actually have a trademark on that one. So there's no trademark on that logo, and that's for a bunch of reasons, right? I don't know what you know about the trademark office or the process involved, but there's lots of things you can't trademark. So for instance, in the world of professional wrestling, I absolutely cannot trademark NWA. It's already owned by the NWA. I absolutely cannot trademark the state of New Mexico. It's a region. Like that doesn't work. The original logo, the Duke City Championship Wrestling logo, is trademarked. And that's kind of a really fun one. So if we do see our original logo pop up anywhere that's not produced by us, that is whenever we take like an action, right? But on this logo, the only thing I would be able to do is show intellectual property, which I can. Obviously, I have a history of creating this program and regularly using it. But cannot trademark NWA because it's already owned by Billy Corgan and the National Wrestling Alliance, and cannot trademark the word New Mexico because it's a state. So you end up kind of navigating through some interesting stuff when it comes to logo usage.
That is actually such an amazing thing. I would have never even thought about it like that. Again, that's why I love wrestling, because you can learn stuff every day that you just take for granted.
I'm gonna see if I can pull it up. I don't know if I can share my screen here. But yeah, there's a whole bunch to it. Like the business behind the industry is as interesting as the industry itself. You know what I mean?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, just so cool. I'm going to try to pull this up for you right now. And also I'm pulling this off a tab. So if it doesn't work, that's just the world that we live in. But yeah, it's a super cool thing to be able to, this here is what we have trademarked, this bad boy right here. So yeah, that's the thing we own the trademark on. And then we still incorporate that. It's on our championship belts. We try to implement it into everything we do. And then the NWA logo in the corner it's just far more marketable, bottom line. But of course. Super cool thing. So now you know.
Man, that's something amazing.
Yeah.
So the question I always ask my guests first off is, how did you become a fan of wrestling?
Oh gosh, great question. I was so fortunate to grow up in St. Louis, Missouri, and St. Louis, Missouri is historically speaking, a hotbed of pro wrestling.
Yes.
And I think I could eloquently, through my understanding of the world of pro wrestling, tell you a story that's not exclusive to St. Louis about a lot of regions, about Memphis, about Minneapolis, about Chicago, about not Indianapolis. Indianapolis has garbage wrestling, but Cleveland, and I could do that, right? The one that I was exposed to was St. Louis, Missouri, and I was fortunate to be exposed to it as a kid. And the historic example is Wrestling at the Chase, and Wrestling at the Chase has a history that mirrors, parallels, or combats some of the most iconic histories in all of pro wrestling. With that said, that's what Duke City Championship Wrestling is. Duke City Championship Wrestling is just a rip of what Wrestling at the Chase was. We record, once a month or every 6 weeks. We do every 6 weeks now. That's for a couple of reasons. The economy is not what it used to be. It's best to put 3 paychecks between what we're doing for our fan base. And with the way that we do our television, we can record the television, every single week off those single events. So that's really great. With that said, it started young. So as pro wrestling would weekly, come through the St. Louis and St. Louis region, including, Southern Illinois, including little bit towards the Ozarks, we would have opportunity for it, and that was cool. With that said, WWF, right? With that said, WCW Nitro. I'm 40 years old, and growing up, being able to watch the golden era into the attitude era, into the PG era, into the all that stuff mattered, because I got to see a bunch of different versions of it. And the thing that hooked me originally, Professor, was when I was a kid, and I'm gigantic. You can't tell from this, but I'm 6'6", I'm 260. Like, I'm a built boy, right? And I
right
in my life when I was fortunate to be athletic. But even when I was watching pro wrestling as a kid and I'm watching Rey Mysterio, I can't do what Rey Mysterio does. I can't do flips. I can't do Hurricane Ranas. I can't. And I could maybe see a guy like a Kevin Nash, and I could say maybe I could. Maybe I could do what a Diesel does, maybe. But you know what I can do? I can do what Bobby the Brain Heenan does. I can do what Tony Schiavone does. I can do what JR does. And that's what actually got me into the world of talk radio. Like, I've worked in talk radio for 20 years, right? And I would not have found the passion that I found for broadcast radio and sports the way that I did if I didn't, at a young age, recognize the storytelling that was the world of pro wrestling. It excited me for this part, the microphone part, the podcast part, which didn't exist at that time, but terrestrial radio did. But that was my connection to pro wrestling as a kid, was not necessarily the stories on the screen as you saw them, but the stories on the screen as they were told to you. And I just thought that was such a crucial part of my entertainment and entertainment adjacent development. So that's my story when I fell in love with pro wrestling. I know yours a little bit from the reintroduction of pro wrestling, which was Sting returning at Survivor Series in 2014. And I was there, like I was physically in the building when it happened. And that is as equal of an excitement level as I had with my story, and I think that's the best part about pro wrestling, is how every single person can have an individual connection to it, and they all have exact equal value. And I love it. Yeah. And it's wild. When we reintroduced pro wrestling here in Albuquerque, to the degree that we've done it, there was always an existence, right? There was always you could find a backyard show, or you could find an indie, and there's a state athletic commission here. There's some stuff you have to navigate, but I can tell you that we have introduced pro wrestling to a generation of kids, obviously related to COVID, obviously related to everything going on in the world, who for their first time, their pro wrestling experience was here at the historic El Rey Theater, and it was seeing Hobo Hank, and it was seeing, I think we were Jacob Fatu's last indie, before he went to the WWE, and we were,
right.
And we just had the Thrillbilly Silas Mason in the building, the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, and those memories is somebody's memory on how they got connected to pro wrestling. And that's an incredible thing. So that is my answer. It was the broadcast television entertainment aspect of it, and the storytelling is what hooked me as a kid.
So from there, how did you go from just being a fan to getting into the business?
That's a fun one, right? Because I didn't. I was so fortunate at a very young age to get into broadcast. 18 years old, I think I was calling my very first football game, and I was 6 months older than the quarterback on the field of the game I was calling. And I was able to do that for years, and in St. Louis with KFNS and KNML here in Albuquerque, KMOX in St. Louis, obviously all the TV affiliates, and then all the 3-letter networks that surround that, right? CBS, NBC, ESPN,
right.
Not 3. But all of those things gave me so many exposures to so many things. And it was, I've been so fortunate to have gone to a bunch of Super Bowls and a bunch of World Series and a bunch of WrestleManias and a bunch of, all these, you felt the only thing I haven't been to is like an Olympics, and I'll go to the one in LA. And that, I was a fan of that. I was a fan of spectacle, and I couldn't find a bigger spectacle than WrestleMania. I couldn't find a bigger spectacle than Survivor Series or SummerSlam or the Royal Rumble. And I think the only one I've missed in the last 15 years of all of those was the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia, because I'm not going to go to Saudi Arabia because I have a core conscience. And before that, when my father passed away, I skipped to SummerSlam because my father passed away. Outside of that, I think I've been to like all of them. And I cannot duplicate what that is anywhere else. We went to the Crockett. I went to the Crockett Cup, obviously, in Philadelphia last year, working with the NWA, and No, that's not 60,000 fans at a football stadium, but that's 1,500 of the exact fans that you want in an NWA arena, which used to be ECW arena, celebrating Natalia Neidhart, celebrating Trevor Murdoch, celebrating the return of Rhino, and just how wild that is whenever you can see the Country Gentlemen come out in front of 1,500 of the most rabid, professional wrestling. And how East Coast fans are. East Coast fans are different than Southwest fans. When they come out, and you don't have to explain a thing.
Yep.
And they know the call and response. They know why it's important, and they recognize why they are part of the show. So that to me is what drew me into pro wrestling. I was here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, working in talk radio and entertainment, and we were, unfortunately, not just a desert geographically, we were a desert of pro wrestling. And it was, could I create it here? Found a group of partners that are some of the best people I've ever met and some of the best people I know. And then we started creating pro wrestling, and we did it on our own for about 6 months. And then after that, we started the partnership with the NWA. That took about 6 months to kind of solidify out. I could give you that whole story too, but we're a little over a year strong with the NWA at this point, and we're going into year 3, and it has just been a tremendous start. Also, I don't know if you can see the live chat here, but speaking of the Country Gentlemen, Joe Kazana is in the live chat, and if there is anyone who gets the chance to sit down and talk or bend the ear of one of the greatest minds in pro wrestling, right there, Joe knows it better than any. Like
he 10. Will be on my show Tuesday, I believe. It's either Tuesday or Monday. I can't don't have my calendar up. But love Joe, love his family. They are some of the best people in the world. And AJ, every time I see him and he's in the ring, he always, if he knows I'm there, he always finds me and picks on me because he enjoys doing that. Now, like you, I'm a big boy too. I'm 6'4", 300.
Oh, then. Yeah.
Yeah. So every time he does stuff, goes out of his way to pick on me. And I enjoy it. And again, like you said, then we have the NWA Crossfire with the Page sisters.
Yep.
Both of them are both companies are like family to me. I consider them my home base. They're just so sweet. They do anything for you. And that's why I love the NWA now, because it gives so many regional stars a chance to build, grow, and people to see it. And that's, again, and why I was excited that y'all teamed up with the NWA, because I knew it was going to solidify you all as a great regional base. And again, I love it.
Well, you're very correct. Also, I could put something up here in the catalog if you could throw it on screen. So it's what this is so the Kazanzas were out last month for our last show, right? So we brought the Country Gentlemen, and they went. I mean, the crowd was impressed. You know what I mean? But we have a super fun production outside of the wrestling, and this is Joe and I backstage. This has not been released publicly, so I hope Joe doesn't whatever. But here's just an example, right? Of this is a representation of Joe, explaining the business. This is a representation of him taking his knowledge, which is obviously based in Tennessee, but not just countrywide, worldwide, and then handing that thing off, and I get it. This is a representation, but we had those real conversations. We sat across from each other and broke bread and talked the industry and talked approaches and talked storytelling and talked what it meant to be a promoter in 2026, learning from a guy who's been promoting for decades, and to me, it's a powerful imagery. Also, I consider myself a creative guy. This was his creation. You know what I mean? So it's to be able to be at least the canvas that he painted on with his brush meant the world to me.
And the thing that again that I love with the NWA, a lot of people like, oh well, it's gone, it's not what it used to be. No, it's something different. It is something that it shows the past, but
Mhm.
embraces the now and the future of the business. And that is something that is just an amazing feel for, again, not only just for the talent that is blessed to go through it, but for us fans. For me, I'm a big NWA buff. I know you can't see
Yeah.
them all, but I have all NWA titles in my bear cave. I love it. It is just an amazing company, and anything that I can do personally to help the NWA grow and get out, I love. Like I tried my damnedest to get all the affiliations to
Mhm.
come on. Didn't work out that way, but again, maybe one day I'll do an NWA appreciation month and we can get it that way. But I want people to know that wrestling is not just WWE, AEW. There are so many great promotions out there that has so much great talent that what you have to do is search or
Yeah.
go to places that will help you find, like WSN. Once we're coming back with our app, we're trying to get NWA on there so people can see it and appreciate it. We want people to see different promotions around the world.
Yeah,
But
well, and you're making a really good point, not to hijack. And I'm not a social media guy. Like, I don't have personal social media. I don't put really any effort into it. I do have a guy on the team that does it, you know what I mean?
right,
But I tell you what I do see, or at least if it's my workers or my fans or whoever, I give my cell phone out to everyone. You have my cell phone. Like that is how I communicate.
right.
I tell you, the stuff that people do convey to me on social media, it's a lot of vitriol. If we were to take that exact same amount of energy that we put into, for whatever reason, criticizing or working in opposition of a product that isn't the one that you, for whatever reason, self-identify as loyal to, and you put that exact same amount of energy into supporting and building and rising the tide of all pro wrestling. Like, I just pulled up right here, and I'm not a member of any of them, but there's over 100 pro wrestling groups here on this social media page that you could join. And if I do right now, they won't say, hey, went to my local indie last night and only spent $25 and I got to be at arm's length from really good performance, and I got a popcorn, and I got a soda pop, and I got home in a reasonable hour. Like, that's what I want to hear about. Like, give me that. That's the formula. The formula is not, well, so-and-so tripped while doing something really athletic. You go, yeah, because sometimes we trip. Like, that's life. We got back up, didn't we? But you're totally right. That is the one thing, Professor Bear, where it's, can we utilize the outlets that we have to support the industry? And that's like shares, subscriptions. That's all that they cost $0 to you. But I'm monetized on YouTube. I know what that's worth. If you give that effort, YouTube and its overlord Google will return it to me. I promise. And that's the big one. That's where that support is at, my friend. It is, just going out there and pushing the positive.
And with that being said, too, it's so many great companies out there, so many great wrestlers. And again, like you said, if you would use the energy, and I get it, I'm 52 years old. I don't like going and searching for stuff. It can be long, tedious, and exhausting. But if you get to the right places, you can see more and more. That's what, and I hate to turn this into an ad for WSN, but that's what we love doing. Our Facebook page, we never ask a dime from anyone. We always say, promote what you're doing. Do it. Be free to do it. Don't hesitate. Don't worry about if we're going to stop you. We're not. We want people to enjoy wrestling. Whether you are a mom and pop, only get 2 fans a show, or you the biggest company, it's about the love of wrestling. And to find out, we live in a time where we can watch wrestling in Japan, Australia, the UK, Africa, anywhere in the world. Again, if you take the time, and if you don't want to, there are streaming services out there for great content.
Well,
And
yeah, you're correct. There's a night a week where you can get almost always live broadcasts or taped to, or live to air, where it's Monday's the obvious one, right? And then Tuesdays you can watch Power, and then Wednesdays you can watch AEW, and then on Thursdays you can watch TNA now, and then on Fridays you can watch the obvious one again, and then by the way, you have to somehow find a way to sneak in NXT, and then on the weekends, if there's not a premium live event, then you can go to your local indie, go support those guys, because those guys end up on the top level. We have a worker right now who's in Tampa as we speak at the Performance Center trying out right now, like this second at time of recording, and she's sending me updates left and right. And there's a fan here in Albuquerque who got a high five from her one time, and that matters. So it all connects. And like, I'm going out to Tampa tomorrow. NWA TV is this weekend, so I'm going out to Tampa tomorrow, and like, I will make sure that we stop and say hello to each. Did I say she was in Tampa? She's in Orlando, but you know what I mean. But
right.
I'll make sure that we stop and say hello to each other, because there's a fellowship in this industry that's got a lot of value, and you can be a part of it, fan. Like, it is, like, you are invited. No one in this industry hates attention. That's not why we're here.
And it's an amazing thing, because I find myself now when I go to local shows and stuff, people recognize me. They come and talk to me, and I'm like, and as much as God knows I appreciate it, and definitely love to make people feel good if they look at me as in that level, I always feel like, wow, I'm not doing anything but just showing what I think of the business, and trying to give you information, give you knowledge, companies acknowledgement. There are too many great promotions out there that get don't have any productions that you don't know about. So I want to talk about them. Do they have the big lights, the big sound system? No, but what they have is the key thing is great wrestling.
Yeah, well, you're very correct. For the theater that we create here in Albuquerque, because we have the big lights, we have the big sound. We're in a theater, like, we're literally in a theater. The way we do it, there's a certain value to that. But I've gone to what's a really good indie? Illiana Pro Wrestling. I've gone to Illiana Pro Wrestling shows, in the suburbs of Chicago, where they're in a KC hall with a ceiling that's a foot above my head, and they're putting on some of the best pro wrestling with music played off a cell phone, like, but it's still some of the best. Like, and you can enjoy it and you can love it. I'll tell you, just to piggyback off what you're saying, Professor Bear, the only thing that you didn't mention, I will make sure to mention, is fandom levels, because for me, there is some weird belief that fans think they either have to be maximized in every piece of knowledge and information, and they have to live the gimmick of being a pro wrestling fan. But I'm gonna tell you, it's for the casual fan too. It's for the fan that jumps in between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. It is for the fan that has a nephew or a niece or a granddaughter or grandson that wants to get out once every 6 weeks and go to a show. It is for the fan that catches it back and forth between the innings of their Yankees or St. Louis Cardinals game. Like, all of those things count too. And that's the thing about this community is be inclusive to the degree you want to be included. Like if you want to say the world, well, share that with the people that want to learn. But definitely never disparage those in their fandom level, because I tell you what, I don't know every fact about what I know, but the stuff that I'm interested in, I love to share, and like production of pro wrestling is one of those things. So yeah, great notes on all of that, Professor Bear. You guys are dialed in over at WSN.
Well, we try to be. And the thing is, we're just wrestling fans that actually have an opportunity to tell what we know and get out and try to help the wrestling business. The one fact that I always say that stuck with me as a kid and is something I value and find true today. Make make sure you make wrestling better than you found it. And every chance I get, I do that.
Yeah.
Again, I just love wrestling, and I love to talk about history. I'm a big history buff. Do I know it all? No, but
Oh.
I'm pretty knowledgeable. I can tell you the Hulk Hogan history. Do I like him? No, never did. But I can tell you his history because I know it. I watched it. Look, I saw the first Starrcade. I saw WrestleMania when it started. I've been into it even to this day. Again, there are some wrestling shows that I watch. I make sure I watch because they caught my interest. They caught my intrigue, and I love it. Just like the Kazanas, love them. If I saw them out on the road and they were in a fight, I wouldn't ask the question. I wouldn't think twice about it. I'll be in there throwing with them, throwing hands. Not that they need me, but just the principle of it. So we've been doing all this talking about the business.
Yeah.
I want to focus real quickly on Duke Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
What makes Duke Championship Wrestling who it is today?
Yeah, you know, the obviously Duke City Championship Wrestling is a really special moniker, right? Because Albuquerque is known as the Duke City, you know, so it was, you know, it's a no-brainer. You know, when we were kicking through branding ideas, it kind of came down to this and High Desert. Those were like our two, you know, and High Desert was not quite tight enough regionally, you know, because there's really good pro wrestling in Denver. There's really good pro wrestling in Salt Lake and Las Vegas and Phoenix and Dallas and Lubbock and El Paso. All those things are true. But we needed really good pro wrestling here in Albuquerque. You know, this used to be the stop and turn around point for the Funks. And this used to be the stop and turn around point for the Von Erichs. And this used to be the history that you're talking about. So what we wanted to do was emulate. You know, we wanted to recreate that. And we wanted the fans that were so accustomed of coming over from Amarillo to get reaccustomed to coming over from Amarillo. You know, so we made sure they knew they were going to a familiar place, and that was Duke City, right? So that's the brand. With that said, the product is incredible. I just updated the roster card the other day. We have a really good website. I have a really good ticketing partner. I'm just very proud of them. And yeah, so I have it up, and I think we have over 100 performers and contributors that we've utilized in our time. You know, and they're not names that need introduced. You know, so that's a thing we're incredibly proud of. And as we've, you know, partnered with all these individuals, it's what do they contribute? Because we're not trying to duplicate anything we already have, right? We have luchador wrestlers, we have bodybuilder wrestlers, we have, you know, guys that look all the parts, and that's by design. You know, and some of the best, Natalia Markova, obviously the NWA Women's Champion. She is the standard by which all others should be judged. And whenever we bring in others, that's how we judge them. You know, in our inaugural Enchanted Champion, Zamaya, you know, she's been so fortunate through this partnership to go and work in NWA Chicago. You know, she's been so fortunate through this, and she just signed a deal with MLW the other day, where, you know, this platform, and maybe our 4K video helped a little bit, you know, but this platform, you know, that's what this is. It's a place to one, get started if you want to get started. We have a wrestling school too, which I love. You know, so you can go down to the Thungeon, learn to pro wrestle with us, learn the insides of it. We're going to teach you the business, and then on top of that, get an opportunity to go elsewhere, because I think we're in good standing with many. You know, I think if other promotions called and said, "Hey, Fred, can you give me the rundown on Alora Jet?" I would say, "Yes, I can. She's tremendous. Like, book her. Like, you can book her on a date that I would have booked her, and I'll still support, because." You know, that's an individual that needs to get in front of as many as audiences as possible. So that's what I think we are product-wise. I think we're a really good place for those that are up and coming to get in and get a really good one-on-one. And then I think we're a really good place for those that are so fortunate to have been wrestling for so many years to get in front of our audience. You know, and our audience at the Historic El Rey Theater, we're like a 4, right under 500 every show, you know, live attendance. And it's really great, because that's not the norm in indie pro wrestling. You know, in indie pro wrestling, you know, you could wrestle on a Friday night in a city in front of dozen people, maybe most of them are your friends. And then if you come over to us on a Saturday night, it's a different experience with our almost 500 people every single show. And we've been, so I'm knocking on wood right now. We've been so fortunate to sell every seat to every show that we've ever had, which is an incredible thing. And same kind of ideas we were talking about earlier, you know, there's an affordability there. You know, if all you have is $20 for a ticket, well, we have a $20 ticket, you know, and if you're so fortunate to be passionate enough about and understand that the experience is a little bit different, closer to the ring, you know, we have that ticket too, you know, so that's what this product is. This product is giving first timers an opportunity and giving those that are established an opportunity to get in front of a sizable, and by the way, like really marquee crowd, like a super good, they know they're part of the show. You know, they know if they are celebrating, the camera's going to be on them. They know if they want the performers in the ring to reciprocate, they're going to do that. You know, so it's a really good live event that we turn into what I also think is a really good TV program. So it's a thing that I'm passionate about and excited about, but that's the breakdown of it. It's great for those who want to start and learn, and it's great for those who have it established and want to refine.
So Fred, I know you have to go. So
I got a little bit of time.
Okay. I was gonna say now something that I do it at every show I go to. I did it once, and the way I judge how great a show is to me is I'll close my eyes and just listen.
Okay.
And if I cannot tell what type of building I'm in, then I know. If I feel like I'm hearing thousands of people,
yeah,
then I'm like, this crowd is hot. They're doing their job in the ring. That is a telltale sign for me to let me know that the action is good. The crowd is into it. I went the first time that happened to me, I went to a show, and I promise you, it's probably like maybe 50 people, maybe.
Yeah.
And I just happened to I closed my eyes because I ain't gonna lie, I was half asleep driving there, and I closed my eyes, but I started listening. And I thought to myself, I'm like, whoa, this can't be what I'm hearing. I open my eyes, I'm looking around, I'm like, are they piping in noise? Is it me? So then I started realizing, man, that crowd was just super hot for the action. And for me, I love doing that because it tells the passion of the fans. It tells the passion of the wrestlers. When you can get that type of response from a crowd, then you know you are doing your job.
Yeah, and it's got to be calculated, right? Like you need the crowd to be a part of the story you're telling. You know, and we've seen those obvious examples historically of the crowds commandeering shows and doing that. There's a really public one right now going on in AEW, right? And you know what I think is important is you let that crowd not dictate the direction, not by any means, but you let that crowd be a part of that direction, give them an opportunity to celebrate, you know? So yeah, I think you're very correct. Also, and again, we're so fortunate to be in the theater that we're in. You know, it's built for this. You know what I mean? Like, also, it's so old, Professor. Like this building is like over 100 years old, you know, and it's made out of wood. And I don't mean like wood grown in the last 20 years. I mean like old growth, like super reverberative, like impressive sound. If you are ever fortunate enough to get out here to the beautiful Southwest, first of all, take advantage of me as a resource, but come to a show. You know what I mean? Because it's an electrifying thing, which is the thing I'm proud of. So, but you're correct. Yeah, it's a good measuring stick. I would tell you what, though, I had one very recently. I was in Washington, D.C. at John Cena's final match, and that was an incredible one for me because if I were to, and I don't think I did, but if I were to had closed my eyes and listened to the 20,000 or whatever were there during that final match, and to hear like the building go quiet and to hear like the sound disappear, that might have been deafening. Which is just a whole nother spectrum of that experience. So yeah, there's a lot of truth to that descriptor of it. And I think you made it. So good job there.
There are so many different things that touches me about wrestling. And the biggest thing is how, yes, you're having the campfire. I just had to let you know that. We, as wrestling fans, and because I'm so much older and got to experience the territorial days and everything that goes on, I find myself appreciative of where wrestling is and where it's going. And some of the things that I really love to talk, which again is very surprising to me, of how many wrestlers actually like my advice.
Mhm.
The one thing I always let them know is you have something that a lot of people didn't have. You have a chance to get to market yourself. You're a business to yourself. Market yourself. You have Facebook, all these different mediums. Use it. You can use it to build yourself, to learn how to become, the word I'm looking for, more creative, and get yourself out to a vast audience and make companies want to work with you because they can see what you do, how
Yeah.
you do, and you are a commodity and they
Well,
want to be in your business.
I'll tell you this. Like I'm a licensed promoter in the state of New Mexico. There's only a couple of us. I'm one of them. Like you can by law only put on a pro wrestling show if you're a licensed promoter. Cool, I'm that. With that said, whenever talent comes to me, they say, "Hey, I have a X amount of following." Cool. Okay. I don't know how you acquired it, but I'm in. And they say, "Hey, I make X amount of posts." I say, "Also cool." I go, "You could cultivate the absolute best social media post ever done. It can have the perfect angles of your body. It can have the perfect lighting. You can claim that this promo that you cut on social media has sold 1 million tickets to an event." But I'm going to tell you, it's not sold as many tickets as the local guy who works the street team, who goes up and down downtown and goes into every business and offers to put a poster up in a window and shakes the hand of an owner of another small business in that community and grows a fandom from there. Whenever we send pro wrestlers at NWA New Mexico and Duke City Championship Wrestling out to the middle school to play basketball with the girls basketball team, or we send them to the library program across town to read to kids, or we put them at the state fair for 12 straight days, performing 3 times a day, hitting all of those kids and families that walk past, that's where it's at, Professor Bear. Like that to me, if you can show me that you built a draw in your hometown, heck yeah. Heck yeah. And I know you got it then. Hey, shows on Saturday? Why don't you come on Friday? I'll send you down to the grocery store. I'll have you meet people out front because we'll do that. That's when I know you're a guy who wants to be part of the guy gal. That's when I know you're a guy gal who wants to be part of the industry. When you don't just care about the 10 minutes you're in front of the ring and then rushing over your merchandise table to sell $20 t-shirts. When I know that you're here because you want to do the radio spot the day before, the TV spot the day before, or if you want to go and jump in front of the Rotary or the Economic Development Foundation or whoever in town is meeting, because those people want to hear our stories. So I'm going to say, yes, everything you said. Do not overlook the micro. The micro has so much value because that's how we built our brand. Also, I'm only talking about what I know. I don't know if there's a pro wrestling organization that only does it through social media. The midgets do that, I guess, because they travel everywhere and they're all over that. But outside of them, I don't know anyone who does that. Like, let's go. Like, go into City Hall, go into your community and say, "Hey, what can we be a part of?" They'll tell you. Like they will tell you. But I would say yes on everything you're telling me, and then don't overlook the community you live in because you're part of it.
I love it. Man, again, I know you got another prior.
Yep.
And I don't want to hold you up, but this is quick thing I would love to say. 2 things, actually. One, thank you so much for everything you're doing for the business.
Thank you. You too.
Keep
Yeah.
it going. I love it and definitely supporting it. 2, you have an open invitation. Hopefully, maybe next month we can get you back on. We can go into some more details about Duke Championship Wrestling. And number three, I'm gonna ask a quick favor.
Yeah.
Man, let if when you talk to Billy, just say, hey, these guys, they're doing their thing. You might want to look at them. If
Well,
you do that for me, I would so appreciate that, because I think that we can do so much for the NWA too, from a different perspective, that I would love to, because again, I'm an NWA loyalist through and through.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. You know, and if you and I want to have a chance to talk about it face to face, you know, when we could do that at Joe Kazana Promotions. You know, because I'm going to go out there, because those country gentlemen, they came here and they beat up Pretty City Express, which I thought was kind of an interesting finish the last time they were out here. To take away the Chili Championships, our tag team championships, that iconic red and green belted tag team championship, and they took it right back to Knoxville, Tennessee. That doesn't need to be in Knoxville, Tennessee. That's for the boys out here in the desert. And we're going to go out there, and I'm going to take Pretty City Express with me, and we're going to beat up the country gentlemen, and I'm going to stand there ringside as Joe holds his book, and he thumbs his book, and he reads from his book, and I'm going to give him a look. I'm telling you, I don't care about your book. I don't care about your binding. I don't care about the marks that you use to save the pages of the rules that you know will help you, because I'm bringing Pretty City Express from right here in the Duke City, and I'm going to turn Knoxville into their Pretty City. We're going to get those tag titles back, and then if they're not cowardly, but I think they are, they can then attempt to return to the land of enchantment to try to get them back. But they won't, because we're going to best them in their hometown, and then we're going to stop them here. And that, my friend, is an entire story of how Pretty City Express will have fallen victim to the country gentlemen, because they're professionals. But they'll overcome that, and they can beat them on NWA TV, and they can beat them at Joe Kazana Promotions, and then we can beat them here. Because the country gentlemen, they're not going to have those titles very long. And I'll see them this weekend, and we'll set the whole thing up. And I promise you this, I'll give you, WSN, the first opportunity to tell the fans of both these promotions when it's going to happen. Because I'm going to make it happen.
That sounds great. And definitely when you come out in this area, I will be there, and we'll have a conversation, my friend.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your effort into the industry. There's a lot of talent in pro wrestling. There's a lot of talent that surrounds pro wrestling. WSN is that. What you are doing, you are that. And the fans that consume this, how fortunate we are to have them as fans. So thank you to they, thank you to you, and we will, I promise you, we will do this again.
Sounds good. Guys, girls, thank you so much for watching. Again, another great story around the campfire. Again, as we are going to wrap this up real quick, please support your local pro wrestling promotion. I mean, your local. Please do it. You just never know who you are gonna see grow from that promotion to the bigs. And on top of that, you can afford it. It is such a great thing, and have a great time with such a great thing that the majors can't provide. So do that. With that being said, I am Professor Bear. This has been the Bear's Thought, and we'll see you around the campfire very, very soon. Y'all take care.